What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. It is the big thing. And I'll tell you, man, I remember when I just was telling you guys that I was never going to do digital shows. I was done with digital shows. Now that we're in studio again, I'll get guests and do that. And then bullshit happens again in the world. And I go, I guess I'll have to do a few. And I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of glad that we've been able to do it. When I realized I wanted to do some more episodes, I reached out to a whole bunch of peeps and good guests and good people that I wanted to have conversations with. And I got a lot of great responses. And one of them today is my buddy, Jeff Dye, comedian Jeff Dye, who I've known for a while now. Mark Ellis and I met Jeff back in the, what the hell was it? I was going to say Fandango, but that's not true. It was Spike TV. And we did Comic-Con together 2 years in a row. And we became friends, and he took me to a SmackDown one time. We had a good time. So a lot of stuff that Jeff Dye and I have been through, and we were figuring, who am I going to just have on the show to talk about whatever it might be? Spider-Man, because he's a big Spider-Man guy. We're going to talk about Spider-Man. We're definitely going to talk about Boba Fett, and I'm going to talk to him about the Batman. I have a funny feeling that he really wants to see the Batman. I might be wrong, but I have a funny feeling he really wants to see it. So I'll talk to him about that. We'll get into it. We'll geek out a little bit. It is the big thing. And if you have not already done it, guys, you're here, subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Do the notification, all of that. You know how it goes. And we started the new Patreon, so you can get the new Patreon. The link's to the description there. You know how that runs. And then finally, it's all about Spotify. It's all about Apple Podcasts. We're really moving in Spotify right now, I got to tell you. So we don't do donations. We don't do any of the Streamlabs. And people ask all the time, how can you support? Well, that's how you do it. Just go to Spotify. You go to Apple Podcasts. Right, rate, review, all of that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is the big thing. It is myself. It is Jeff Dye. Let's do it. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. It's the big thing. I'm pumped, man. It's gonna be a fun one. Let's do it. Let's just no more bullshit. Let's just get the guy in here, ladies and gentlemen. My pal, comedian, Jeff Dye. What up, brother?
What's up, buddy? Thanks.
How are you?
I'm feeling good.
Good. I'm excited to talk to you about this shit, man. I don't think we've been able to geek out about shit in a while, because that's what when we first worked together at Spike TV, we're doing that stuff. We would just, when we weren't shooting, we were just bullshitting about movies anyway.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is I think people don't think I like this nerd stuff, but I love all of the, like, pro wrestling, video games, Star Wars, all that. I'm in. I love all of it.
You're very knowledgeable in it too. I mean, I remember talking to you about that stuff too. And I think that we talked before we started recording. We started talking about Boba Fett, and at the time of this recording, actually, by the time it's recording, the series will be when it airs. We'll probably be close to the finale here, but like at the time of the recording, the episode 4 just dropped. You didn't get a chance to see it yet, so we're not going to spoil it. But I will ask, what do you feel about Boba Fett, and compared to Mandalorian, where do you put the two of them?
Well, I'm not a big compare guy.
Okay.
I love The Mandalorian. I think it's a masterpiece, and I think this is just a different story. I think that when it started, I didn't have any expectations, so I was just like really, really happy. I was interested. I had like some, not expectations, but I was going, well, how are they gonna? They better explain how he got out of that Sarlacc pit.
Right.
And the first thing they did was explain it. So it's like, obviously there's guys that think like me over there who are like, well, of course we're gonna. So I feel like all the things that I might be snobby about, as little snobby as it is, they've done great.
Yeah, I think so too. I think there was certain there had a lot of expectations, but I think as fans you have expectations, and sometimes you gotta. I never. There's some people that will say, well, if you can't have any expectations and you just got to go with what they give you. Well, no, you don't. You can say, okay, I enjoy what they gave me, and I didn't think it was going to go that way, but I wound up liking it. Or you can just say, I fucking hated that. I wish they would have done this instead. It's your right as a fan to watch it. I mean, if you're subscribing to the damn thing, you can say whatever the fuck you want. You can also choose not to turn it on and turn it off, and who gives a shit? But I've been enjoying the show. There's definitely it's not the ruthless Boba Fett we thought we were going to get. It was a different type of Boba, and I've definitely understood that they've explained that through him with the Tuskens and all that. I think that was a different the Dances with Wolves, Last Samurai angle that they went with it. So but I love what Tamora Morrison is doing for sure. I think it's nice to have him come back from the Attack of the Clones and then be able to do this one.
Yeah, it's been exciting. I think also just to piggyback onto what you're saying is like they'll do things like the way that the Tuscan the sand guys, they were like the Tuscan Raiders.
Yeah,
Is that well, yeah.
yeah.
They would like be around around Boba when they were first coming to get him, and I was like, oh, that's not very single file. Like that's not good. But then they would explain it again, like it's all the wind's blowing. So I think that matters. So
Mhm.
it's like whenever I would notice something, then they would go, okay, or they would like kind of just correct it in a way.
Yeah, and I like even when the perception that we've had of the Tusken Raiders over the years, watching as Star Wars fans, that they were just kind of this mindless brutes that just were there to murder. And the chief even says to Boba at one point, he's like, most of them do that. We've decided to kind of more so hide in the shadows. And when the seas of Tatooine dried up, we decided instead of murdering, we were going to hide in the shadows and do our thing. And I think that that's what has been that's what's been pretty interesting about it. And I'm trying to remember the episode chapter 3, so I don't spoil anything for chapter 4. But no, chapter 3 you saw. So when he goes back in the village, everyone's murdered. It goes back to that idea of, okay, here's this guy who's been on his own for so long, and now he's going to have to deal with loss again because he's going through a different path.
Yeah, they killed all of them, and also how's that scene of like them burning their own, like the just burning the bodies and like
Yeah,
mourning the death and doing that like respect dance or whatever it was
yeah,
like.
right.
Man, it shows one. It's like oh cool, they do have like their own culture and their own ceremonies and things like that. And the tree, obviously, that big tree thing. Like they have a whole. They're not just these mindless, co-stars of the Star Wars universe. They're like this real thing. But it
Yeah.
also makes me think like, man, if you go back to like episode 1 and 2 and 3, like when Anakin said he killed all of them, you're like, man, I wonder, I wonder what that was like.
Yeah, well, it makes you. It's funny you say that because I brought that up. I think when the first episode I reviewed on the channel, I brought that very thing up, and I said it like humanizes them more, right? So like when you see it in Attack of the Clones, and he's like, I killed them all, I murdered all of them, I did this. You're like, we saw that scene for 2 seconds, as opposed to now, you're like, well, maybe you should have talked to him, buddy. It's like,
Yeah,
you might have let her go.
wild.
Yeah, it's crazy, and you also start to question Padme. Here's this scene where he says, I murdered all of them, the women, the children, all of them. And what happens in the next scene? I really love it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm really madly in love with you, the bad boys.
I will. Do you wonder? Is this just a thing I do? But do you wonder when you watch Star Wars, like, well, what do those sand people look like under there?
Yeah, I mean that's that's been going around. I mean, people wonder if I saw some theory that I don't like at all. That they're like these basically because Tatooine has dried up, and it used to be oceans, that they were like almost like fish people trying to survive.
Mm.
Eh, it's
Like
like,
those. What are those other guys that they were being attacked by from the train?
oh right, the Pike Syndicate.
Yeah, those look like fish
That's
faces.
what they do. And yet Johnny Five driving driving the train.
Yeah,
But
with all the spider hands. It
with
was
all the
kind
spider,
of
yeah, he turns like Grievous. There's a couple Grievous references, I think, throughout this whole series. But I think yeah, people have been always wondered that, what do they look like? And I think that George Lucas always wanted to keep them a mystery, and I kind of hope that they do. And I
yeah.
I don't really want to see them. I think it's more of an impact of, you don't know if they're human, you don't know if they're aliens. It works a lot better.
Well, the voices sound pretty alien, but yeah, it's fine if they look cool the way they look. It's just
Yeah,
it's just for me. I go, they let Boba Fett become one of them, so they must not be too tribal. Like they must
right.
not be too much. I mean, he can't even speak their language, and they're letting him be one of them.
Right. I think it's a respecting, right? It's a respecting and seeing that he's a true warrior, and the way they did. That's what's so different of this particular tribe. But I'll ask you, so the thing that's bothered me about this show so far, the one like grievance I have with it, it's every episode so far, even including the fourth, which it's again not a spoiler, but there's always a modern thing that throws me off.
Mm,
In the first episode, the actor from Veep shows up as the mayor's. He's like, oh, apologies, but
yeah,
he's
I
that
like
guy.
the character because I've never seen Veep. But let me predict which thing you hated in the third episode.
Third episode, yeah,
Those dumb scooters.
they're the worst.
It's terrible.
It's Power Rangers. They're the
And I
Power
love
Rangers.
those characters, right? I love
They're
like
fine.
I like their hat. They've got droid parts, and I'm into that. I'm
the
not
actors,
into them driving those space mopeds. And like the thing, they could have made those look fine if they didn't look like they had these like candy color paint jobs.
it could have been just a souped up, speeder that like kind of like Luke had or something like that, and made it look more like Tatooine. It was so out of place. It looked something that either Spy Kids or Fifth Element, or it just, the tone was all over the
It
place,
was
and even
very campy.
very campy. And even those, I like the actors, I like the characters. The problem was with the speeders and the outfits. The outfits also seemed like it was on a different planet. It was what was it Coruscant or Canto Bight? It was just bizarre. But either way, it's the minor things. The Wookiee I love.
Oh yeah, I'm big into that. Yeah, well,
he,
and I guess I've been hearing, I don't know what his name is, but like
Black Chris Hansen.
Yeah, but he's got all these like other names, right? Or no?
Yeah, BK or something else.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
The internet game. But I guess he was a gladiator, and he like this isn't the first time they've seen each other, so that's also why like I popped when I saw it. I was like, oh, like another Wookiee. Like I was all so excited, and he's badass, and he's got the Road Warrior shoulder, the Road Warrior shoulder pads.
Yep.
But
and walks like a feather, because nobody heard him come into the palace. The two pigs didn't hear. Nobody heard. He just walked. He walked right in, and nobody understood.
Imagine having to fight a big Wookiee, and you're pretty much naked and slippery. That would be a terrible time to fight.
Horrible. Well, he's lucky though, because the Wookiee could have just smashed his head with a rock when he was sleeping. Instead, he decided to choke him out.
I don't know why he tried to fair fight if he's a bad guy.
He's like, get over here. It was like Hogan and Andre in WrestleMania 3. It was true. So so anyway, that show's working for me. You watching any of the Marvel shows?
Nope, I don't watch any of that stuff. I like the Marvel movies. I go see those, but for the shows, I've never even tried to get into them. There's too much good stuff.
There's so much shit out there. That's why. I mean, a lot of people, when they are commenting on the videos and they say, well, I haven't had a chance to watch this, I haven't seen that, I go, I understand it, man. Like I'm the show that I've been raving about recently on Netflix. Do you watch animation at all?
Nope.
So I'm not an animation guy. I really don't watch much of it, except like that. I watched Star Wars Rebels and the stuff when it came out, but I'm a big science fiction guy. Like I love science fiction. So these the fans kept telling me about this show Arcane, which is based off of this video game, which I know you're a gamer. So League of Legends.
Okay.
So I said, all right, I'm going to check it out, because I kept every comment. You got to watch Arcane. It's right up your alley. No, animation's not the big thing for you, but you got to watch this. And I was like, okay, I'm going to give it an episode or two. Just blew through it. It's some of the best science fiction I have watched in 10, 15 years. Character development, great music. It's gnarly. It's if you have an opportunity on Netflix to give it like an episode or two, even if you're not an animation guy, give it a shot. It's really good. Yeah,
the only time I watched anything animated, besides like Simpsons and stuff like that, but like the actual like animated like movies or any of those things, was when they made a Scorpion movie where Joel McHale voiced Johnny Cage, and there was like there's like a whole feature film that was animated. And even while I was watching that, the story was great, everything was great, but I just hated the way it was animated.
Yeah, the animation in this is really good. It's I'm telling you, it's something pretty phenomenal. So anyway, so that's what I was watching. And then correct me if I'm wrong, I wanted to ask you, I know that because you were working on the show with Shatner and Bradshaw and everything too. Did you have an opportunity? Did you meet Betty White?
I've never met Betty White, but when the show was originally pitched, they were like, okay, so season 1, Better Late Than Never, will be you, George Foreman. I didn't think they had George Foreman attached yet, but Jason Ehrlich, the guy who made it, was like,
I know Jason. Oh,
great guy. And he's like, I want this guy, I want this guy, I want this guy. Hopefully we can get this guy, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, and then my goal is for season 2, it'll be 4 old women. So it'll be Betty White. That was the first name that came out of his mouth. Yeah. So-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so. And then we'll have like a young female, like a sidekick, like you were to these guys. And then as the show was shooting, they were like, dude, we should just make you be the sidekick for the old women too. So like you have to do all this kind of crap, except, just keep you the constant of the thing. And I was like, that'd be great. But this show just, they never had legs enough to make a female version of it.
Must have been fun shooting that show though.
Oh, it's great. I mean, I've heard from many show business like network meetings and stuff that like they always get pitched. If someone gets famous or a celebrity has like a meeting, and they always come in and go, how about this? A such and so travel show. And they're like, of course you want a travel show. Of course you want to fly around the world for free on our dime. And then we pay for all your dinners and your hotels. And so it's like, this one just fell in my lap. So I'm very, very lucky.
Where'd you go? Where were some of the places that you got a chance to go to that you had never been before?
So we were in Japan for a long time, weeks. And then we were in Thailand for weeks. We were in Hong Kong for 1 week. And we were in Korea for 1 week. Then we were in Morocco, Africa for a week. Germany for like 3 weeks.
Wow.
Where
That's
else?
awesome.
Yeah, Spain. We went everywhere. It was awesome.
It's funny because I knew Jason Ehrlich from he was the top guy when I was working at Bachelor.
Right.
And he was there, and he was the guy who I remember him taking me into a room and say, because he wanted me to be a producer, and he wanted to take me off the desk. And he's like, you should be producing and doing these things. And then he left. He wanted to go work at NBC. So he's a great guy. He was a great dude. So he created that show.
Yeah, he was the main man. And one thing, this could get me in trouble, I guess, for saying, but one thing that sucks about showbiz is nobody wants to give anyone else credit. They all want to take the credit for everything. So it's
that
like
happens all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. So I can think of 6 guys off the top of my head who are gonna be like, "Oh, you said Jason created it." It's like he did. It was his idea. He came up with the thing. He saw a Korean version of it called Grandpa's Over Flowers, and he's like, "We can make this." Blah blah blah. He's the one who pitched it. He gets credit.
As you should. I haven't talked to Jason in a while. I like to see. Look at that. Isn't it funny when you're having a conversation with somebody, you bring up somebody's name, you're like, oh, you know what? I need to reach out to someone.
Oh yeah,
so I got to reach out to Jason.
He's working on Bradshaw Bunch right now. He created that with Terry. Yeah,
which also makes sense. All right, shifting over. You said now. Speaking of Netflix and going to, I was talking about Arcane. When I put a poll out to ask the audience what they wanted me to watch, and even though I watched Arcane, it wasn't the first one that they voted for. The first one they voted for, which I haven't watched yet, is Witcher, which you said that you have been watching, right?
It's awesome. Yeah, it's so good. I didn't know anything about Witcher.
Yeah, me neither.
And so I just kind of went in blind. And it's so fun. Like the idea is just awesome. And it's got the similar vibe. And it's like, I'm not going to give Mandalorian credit for creating this because I'm sure this formula has been used billions of times. And I'm just not smart enough to come up with an older version of this formula. But basically, like, he's just like a badass. And then he has nothing to really, that's what he does. He just kills monsters. Like the Mandalorian just goes and does what he needs to do. And no one can beat him up because he's too cool and good. But then he finds something worth fighting for. And then he's like, this has meaning. Like now I've got like a purpose to use my badassness. And it's really good. Plus there's hot chicks in it.
Yeah, I heard it's really good. From people say this, and I don't know if you agree or not, but they say that the first 2 episodes are a little tough. And then once it goes to like 3 or 4, it starts to pick up and really goes through.
Well, I would say that the first every episode, even starting from the first one, is awesome.
Okay.
It's the second season that's a little slow.
Okay.
For me, like I'm like, come on, man, like give us some monsters. Give us it's pretty dialogue heavy in the second season. But everyone, like not everyone, but there's so many attractive people on the show. Like the Yennefer is like the hottest chick in the world on there. And then also The Witcher. He's like so good to look at. He's like this hot dude.
Yeah, Superman.
Just kicks ass. He's like super strong. He's like it's not his real eye color, but his eyes are like amazing. I'm like mesmerized by the guy. It's cool.
Yeah, Henry Cavill's no joke. I wish they would have kept him as Superman, at least for one more movie.
Yeah. I have never enjoyed any of the Supermans, but I also didn't see the last one.
Yeah, any Supermans, even the Christopher Reeve ones, or you're talking about the
I've never watched those. I can't imagine I would get into that very much.
It's probably dated for you now, but like
when you were a kid, you watched that?
Yeah, I love Superman. Superman 1 and Superman 2 was my favorite superhero movie for a long time. It might even be still close. Okay. We are in 2022. We're in it. We're doing it. And now, cheers to you and resolutions that you're going to actually keep. How about this? You know what you need? You need clean and shiny balls all year around. And our sponsors at Manscaped are here to save your balls. They're going to save them. And they're going to make the ball drop in 2022. It's going to be the cleanest and sexiest that you've ever done. Set your New Year's resolution with good intentions and join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped. The exclusive offer, though, you got to go to manscaped.com. You got to use that code, big thing, for 20% off and free shipping. I love the nose trimmer that they send. I spent too much time with that nose trimmer. We become friends. My wife, jealous of the nose trimmer. I named it Earl. Yeah, Earl the nose trimmer. He's pretty great. He works. He'll be working for a long time. I like that Earl. And for me, it's a new me. And we use the global leaders in below the waist grooming. And this year, take that package of yours to the next level with their performance package. And it's the 4.0, and it's the brand new ultra premium. They got the body wash. I love that body wash. It smells good. Stay in the shower a little longer because it smells so nice. A grooming routine, it's not complete without applying the crop preserver, the crop reviver before showing off your 2022 self. So, to complete the set, Manscaped threw in the Shed travel bag and the anti-chafing boxer briefs as free gifts to keep all of your goodies stored comfortably. I love Manscaped. I gave it away for gifts for the holidays, and I still give it away. People, they lose their minds. They don't realize how good it is. It's the best. Kick discomfort and poor hygiene to the curb this year and use the best tools for the job. Go to manscaped.com, use that offer, 20% off, free shipping. Got to guys use Yabba. What's that mean? That means use the code BIGTHING. Cheers to new balls in this new year. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code BIGTHING at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use that code BIGTHING. It's a new year. It's February. No pubes in 2022. Don't be disgusting animals. Manscaped. Do it. It's funny because, I'm doing a rewatch as we lead into the Batman. I've been doing a rewatch of the Batman movies, and I just watched Batman 89. The Batman Returns, people love. I thought that maybe watching it again, I would see something that I didn't see the first time. That movie stinks. People love it. I think it stinks. But was I wrong in assuming that you wanted to see the Batman?
So I do a weird thing. I don't know if you have any of your guests or friends who are like this, but I refuse to watch a movie trailer. I won't watch
a lot of people like that.
I won't see them. I go into everything blind. I don't play games with it. I don't even if I'm at a bar and one pops on, I look away. Like, I don't enjoy the people who make the movie trailers do a very good job of making movie trailers that will make you want to go see it. But they don't care if they ruin it. They don't care if they spoil it, because their job is just to get you in there.
Right.
I mean, a lot of these trailers, they just show you the whole thing. And my memory is so good that I'm like, well, great, now I know. So for years and years and years and years, if I'm on a date with a woman and going to a movie, or if I'm with my friends, I go, you can go in, you can wait out here with me until the previews are over. Or you can go in and get your seat and just text me. Text me when the movie starts, because I'm not going in there. And so for that reason, I have seen nothing about the new Batman.
See, I know a lot of people like that, and I'm a bit jealous because I kind of for what I do, I kind of have to watch them, right, to be in the know of it. But
sure.
So I think I'm about to get really jealous then if you stuck with this. So you didn't watch a single trailer for Spider-Man going into it?
Nothing.
Oh, that must have been some experience for you watching it first.
And I saw it on like the second day it came out. So everyone was still respecting, like, don't spoil it.
Yeah.
Because people are pretty bad about that, with the exception of like the first few days.
Sure.
And so it was, I got teary-eyed. It was so good.
So did you see it in a packed theater?
I did, yeah.
So was it like, because it's the first movie that's made $1 billion. Well, it's the first movie that made over $100 million during the pandemic, but it was anything that you saw, any of the footage that people leaked, it looked like a football stadium. It sounded like a football stadium when, again, for people, the movie's been out, so you got to deal with it. When both Toby and Andrew show up, like, the place loses their mind in the theaters. Did you go nuts?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was so exciting too, because here's how dumb I am. That I literally saw the helmet of the Green Goblin, and I remember thinking, why would they use that helmet, that crappy one from the Tobey Maguire movie? And then they show him turn, the actor, and I go, oh, and they use the same actor from that crappy. These are all really big tells of what's going to happen, and I had no idea.
I love that. I love that naive, kind of going into it, going, I'm just watching a movie, and then by the time they show up, I'm like, you must have. It did it. It felt. I actually. It's funny you said you popped, because I said it in I think what it felt like. It felt like a Royal Rumble. where when it's like 3, 2, 1, and then turn, it's like, oh my god, it's Andrew Garfield. And
That
then,
was awesome.
Yeah, it was great, and he was great in the movie, man.
They were all great, and it made me like the Tobey Maguire one. So it's like kind of like whoever, and maybe you know who did this, who came up with the idea to have like a Spider-Verse?
Well, I know that the multiverse in general was, I believe DC did it first, and then Marvel did it. And the fans will yell at me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened. And Flash had done it a bunch, and then they did it for Spider-Verse, where I think they plucked it an angle from the comics, and then Lord and Miller wrote it, and then they did the animated version, and then they started to mention it throughout when they started introducing like the time travel stuff and Endgame and the way that they kind of played that in. And that's why I asked about the Marvel series, if you'd watched it, because the What If animated series and Loki really play into that, the multiverse, different versions of someone. And after watching that and then watching Spider-Man, and then going to watch the new Doctor Strange movie, they're leaning heavy into the multiverse and all that stuff.
It's so genius.
Yeah.
Because like one, as a kid, I used to be so dumb in the fashion that I was like, this isn't the Batman I know. And then I had to like learn, like, yeah, different people write. I was like, how are they allowed to do that? Like they just get permission to write their own Batman? Like I was like in my mind, I was like, this is so strange and confusing. And then it makes like they've made that make sense. And also it makes you feel like so much more generous to the product, where you're like, Spider-Man's not a pig. And you're like, well, in that universe he is. It's just not the universe you like. And it's like,
right.
Oh yeah. So it is okay. It's okay if he's like that.
What is also the other brilliant part about it is, if they wanted to, I don't know if they're going to do it, but now, because that movie was so big and so many people saw it, that if they did a fourth Toby movie or a third Andrew movie, they could do them both in separate, and not confuse people. Had they done that, 5 years ago, you confused the shit out of people. But if you do it now, it's like, well, those are characters in the movie that we already saw, that we know have been established. So Sony could make some more cash, especially the fact that, Marvel is going to be, they signed Holland on to do some more films. So it's going to be, it was an absolutely genius move on the way that they played it in one of the biggest movies all time.
I love the way too that like they address things like, wait, it just shoots out of your hands. Like they have all these questions for each other. That was very fun.
It was a funny movie.
Yeah, and I liked the banter of like when his friend comes in and says like Peter, and then they all look and they're like, well, we're all like, which, who are you talking? That was funny. Yeah. But that was the closest we got to a really missed opportunity of the Spider-Man meme.
Yeah, well, they did it twice. They did that. The Spider-Man. They did the point.
When? I didn't see that.
Yeah, they did in the lab when they're all looking at it. They did it once, and then they did it again. Was it on the bridge? But they do the point and looking at each other like that. They just don't do it near the garbage can. But they do it. They do it a few times. Yeah.
Oh, see, because I was like, they really missed an opportunity.
Oh yeah, they did it.
I just missed that they did it.
Yeah, they did it for sure. So the other thing I was going to ask you, because you're right, the comedy was really good in this, and so as a comedian though, have you seen the Suicide Squad?
I saw the first one and I hated it.
The first one's terrible.
I've heard that the second one is really good.
Second one is hilarious, dude.
And so in my mind, I was like, well, why would I see that second one when I loathed the first one? So
I hated the first one. It's just a bad music video it's terrible. This movie, The Suicide Squad, James Gunn directs. This is one of the funniest movies and one of the best. It was my favorite comic book movie, even over Spider-Man last year.
Does it have all the same people in it?
No, it's got different. Well, there's some of the same, but
who are the same?
Margot Robbie is Harley Quinn, and it's the best she's ever been as Harley Quinn. She's great in it. The guy Boomerang is in it. Who let's see who else? Rick Flag, Joel Kinnaman is in it, but Will Smith's not in it. It's Idris Elba. I really think that's it for the most part.
Terrible Joker on Jared Leto's part. Terrible.
There's no Joker in this.
And then what was the woman who was like a storm? She was like this sandy.
Oh, and she was doing that stupid
lady,
It's horrible. Don't even. It's not even the same, dude. I'm telling you. I watched the movie, and I just I was chilling out. I think I smoked a bowl or whatever I was doing. I was sitting back and I was watching the movie, and I just belly laughed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's hilarious. It's really, then because of it, they have this series on HBO Max called Peacemaker, which is John Cena's character from the Suicide Squad. And I've never really thought John Cena is great. I liked him in Trainwreck. I liked him in Blockers, but a lot of times I feel what's that?
He was funny for like 30. I just put it on my to-do list to watch
Yeah.
that. I watched Suicide Squad. He was funny for like 30 seconds in that Amy Schumer movie.
Yeah, Trainwreck. That's it.
Nothing he's done before or after since have I even remotely enjoyed.
Agreed with you 100%. Your opinion will change. He embraces like the stuff that like you've heard about him and the way that he is and but in general how much fun he can have. And he in the Suicide Squad he's great, but in Peacemaker he's even better.
Really?
And yeah, man, and this is coming from someone who's not I'm as an actor. I don't know him as a person, but as an actor, just never been a fan of him. I thought he was the worst thing in Bumblebee. I loved Bumblebee. I thought he was the worst in the movie. I thought a lot of times he comes off as pretty cheesy. He is phenomenal in this, and James Gunn is just able to pull these performances out of people. He did it really well with Batista, and he does it.
Yeah, Batista was great in the Guardians of the Galaxy.
And Batista gives all the love to James Gunn, and that's what the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker are. I think James Gunn is better fit for DC than I do Marvel because Marvel and Disney have to put those PG-13 handcuffs on them. Like the Suicide Squad is a full-on rated R. Like,
really?
Oh, I'm telling you, after you watch the movie, text me and let me know. It's hilarious.
I'm excited to watch it because I had high hopes for the first Suicide Squad.
Me too.
I was really excited. I was like, this is gonna be great. I'm super like the idea's cool. I can't wait to see a new Joker. Like I was open minded. I wasn't like gonna be snobby, like, oh, this isn't the Joker. But like it was just all
it's not good. Yeah, I was almost exactly like you. I said I don't need to see it. And then they announced that James Gunn's coming in. I go, okay. And I like David Ayer, who directed the first one.
The most badass character in the whole thing was like some businesswoman in a pantsuit. Like she was probably the most badass out of all of them. She didn't
Amanda Wyler.
Yeah, I was like,
she's in the new one. She's in the new one. Yeah, she's in the new one. So it's yeah, man. Like it's really the way that the edge of what James Gunn was able to do, because I didn't want to see it. And I actually, even when it came out, it was on HBO Max. And they did that the day in. You could, if it comes out in theaters, you could watch it. And I don't know. I'll get to it. And everyone's telling me how good it is. I'm like, I'll get to it. So I finally, there was like 2 days left before it expired. I'm like, all right, I'll watch it. And I just was like, oh my God, I almost missed this. And then
what's it on now if I try to watch it?
I think it's on HBO Max now. It's on HBO Max. I think it came back around. Like it's on HBO Max. And then if you like it, then I would recommend watching the piece. Don't watch Peacemaker first because it continues after the Suicide Squad. But as a comic, you'll appreciate the dialogue in both movies, in the movie and in the series. The series is so out of control because what I love about the series is so bonkers because they can be in the middle of having a conversation and like they have the most. If one little thing comes up about, I don't know, I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but basically. You could have a conversation about a tuna fish sandwich, and in passing, we're like, "Yeah, it's about as bad as it's about as green as a tuna fish sandwich." When you're in the middle of having a conversation about the mission, and then the guy goes, "Well, wait a minute, tuna fish sandwich isn't green," and they'll talk about that stupid tuna fish sandwich for like 3 minutes in just like the dialogue, and you're like, this is so fucking stupid, but it's amazing. And Robert Patrick, the Terminator, is in the series.
Nice. It reminds me of. It sounds like something the Coen brothers would write. Like
it's got a Deadpool feel to it for sure. I think more so than Coen brothers. It's got like a Deadpool. It's got there's a lot. So I'm excited to hear your thoughts on it to see if you like it for sure. But The Witcher, I guess, is the one I got to see. Are there other shows that you're watching right now?
Book of Boba Fett is the big one.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, that's all I.
What do you do when you go on the road? So when you're on the, have you been going up?
Yep, I've been on the road the whole pandemic. I've gone to just places that most clubs were still open. They just had limited seating and like mandates for masks and all this different stuff. And so I did that every weekend. I was in San Francisco last weekend. I'm going to Chicago tomorrow. I go to West Palm Beach the next weekend. So I'm always somewhere on the weekends.
If
And,
people people want to get your dates, they go to, do you have is it a website or it's on your social media?
jeffguy.com. Super easy to find, but it's like at night, you'll just want to watch something. And I find myself, even though I was saying earlier, there's so much good stuff and not enough time to watch it. I find myself watching this cooking show or like this competition where you've got to design things out of chocolate or like all that kind of stuff is so good to just be mindless watching,
Yeah. I was in a place because I took a break from, because Ellis and I, we started our channel years ago. We got into a place where we were really happy with it. We turned it into the SCHMOEDOWN, and then I just was focusing more so on that, and I took a break from doing the pop culture stuff, and I just wanted to watch stuff on my own and not really deal with it. And then I found a love for doing it again, because I kind of zoned in on the shit that I wanted to watch and the stuff. Yeah, and it's just the stuff, not the stuff that it goes out of Collider. It's like you have to cover shit, and like this is the stuff that's trending, and it's like, so like now it's like, okay, like, well, had I not seen the Suicide Squad, I probably would never cover the Peacemaker, but now I won't miss an episode. And then there's like Succession is a show that I haven't got into yet that I want to get into, but I hear great. Succession's the one on HBO Max. It's or HBO. It's the Brian Cox show. It's really, really popular. It's it's like a business kind of mogul family, and I watched a few of the episodes and really liked it, but I just haven't had it because like you said, there's just so much shit.
Yeah. It's like, and it's also like sometimes someone will be like, you got to watch this, and I'll be like, I'll check it out, and then I would click on it's got like 6 seasons. I'm like, I missed the boat, I think.
Yeah, you got to have a lot of time to be able to do it. That's the whole thing.
And also, like, what if I catch up right now on, Breaking Bad? Who's going to talk about that with me? They're going to be like, you're just now, what? You know what I'm saying? It's not as fun. Right. That's what all your listeners and your fans and all the guys at the communities you guys live in, it's like, they're all like, excited to watch these things, and they're on the pulse with you guys.
Right.
And so, and also you're trying to keep up with all those groups. Some people, your fans don't have to watch everything. They just watch the stuff they specialize or that they really like. And they're like you said,
what you said beforehand too. Like I know that when I put out the book of Boba, I put my book of Boba Fett out every Wednesday morning at like 10 o'clock is when my review goes up. And you said you have a podcast that you listen to that, like, and I know that I'm going to have people that I've been doing this thing where I answer back all the comments on YouTube, and I go back and I've been having a conversation with everybody. And it's the Boba Fett ones though, it's becoming challenging because everybody, it's great, but it's becoming, normally, if I really dive into the comments, I can get them done in like a day or two. Boba Fett, it takes me like 6 days.
What makes it so tough? They're asking questions and you've got to
just talking. Yeah, just talking. They're having a conversation, and before you, if I like right now, I put we're recording this on a Wednesday, and the comments are piling up. So when I left the video, I think there was something like 300 or 400 comments on it, but by the time I'm off with you, it'd probably be close to like 700-800 comments, and then I answer them all back. And I'm doing that because I think that when YouTube, especially when Ellis and I started, YouTube was marketed in 2005 as a place where the creator can just do what they want to do, but they're also connecting with community, and they're talking to the people who are watching them, and somewhere along the way, YouTube got very corporate, and you, like anything else, but YouTube, then it stopped being about the creator and the audience. And that was the thing that Mark and I always prided ourselves on, was like Schmoeville and having the conversations. And I said, I'm gonna make it a thing where I'm gonna have conversations with people, talk to them in the comments, and it's been pretty great, to be honest.
Yeah, so just a good way to do it. People want to connect, and they also they're gonna have so the one I listen to is called "Is This the Way," and it's Aaron Michael Marsh. He's a very funny stand-up comedian, but he's like the Star Wars guy. Okay. He's got Star Wars tattoos. He's very into Star Wars. He's the person that you go to when you have a Star Wars question. And he had an idea when The Mandalorian first came out, he was like, why don't I start a podcast about each episode? You can listen to it right after you listen to the episode or watch the episode. And he goes, but my secret weapon, because he has a Star Wars guy. So when he doesn't know something, he goes up his ladder of who his Star Wars guy is. And the guy's name is Andrew Leonards. And I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correct, but it's Andrew Leonards and Aaron Michael Marsh. And they just sit there and kind of geek out about the episode. They review the episode. They try to share like little Easter eggs and what the scenes were inspired by and stuff like that. It's really, really good. But what made me think about plugging that right now on yours on this thing is that it, just like you said, like it's homework for sure. Like watching the episode, there's so many things in those episodes. I mean, Dave Filoni and those guys, they're doing such a good job with these. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, they are. And so Favreau, and I think that's the thing. I mean, look, as we mentioned earlier, there's a lot about the Boba Fett series that I love. There's a lot that I don't. Mandalorian, to me, I will compare the two of them. If I was going to compare the two of them, Mandalorian is the one that just reminded me of the original trilogy stuff. It was just, right after Return of the Jedi. I would put Mandalorian season 2 as my favorite bit of Star Wars content. Wow. But Boba Fett, it's like I just enjoy watching a live action Star Wars show. So even if there's some shit in there that I don't like, I'm still watching a show. Plus the fact, unlike a movie, I don't have to wait 3 years before another one comes out. I got another week before another episode, and when the series is over, then Obi-Wan is going to come out whenever it is. So are you excited for that one? You got to be.
Absolutely. And also, like, I know more now about Star Wars than I ever have in my life. Like, I've never been like a real knowledgeable guy. Like, they would never give me a show to talk about any of this stuff. I'm a fan. I'm all fan, not, and I'm fine with that. I'm happy to be that. So the fact that they're letting these like nerd guys like make this stuff is like heaven for me, because it's just being done so well. They're not just like cranking out a Star Wars thing. Like, it's done so smart and so good that when I listen to guys who know a lot, like yourself or Aaron or this Andrew guy, like I'm like sitting like, whoa, I can't believe, like, it's just such a well thought out like universe.
Well, yeah, man. Even as you play out like the Wookiee, right? So that Wookiee comes in from the comic books. He and Boba Fett worked together at one point and I think that even, I can't remember which episode it was, but it might have even been in Dr. Aphra comics or even in the Darth Vader comics, but they got the information that ultimately led to the fact of the discovery for Vader that Luke was his son and was out there. Because remember, in between 4 and 5, he finds out and realizes it's his son. So there's some kind of information that Boba Fett gives him, and him and the Wookiee work together. And that scar, and which I'm wondering if I wonder if the Wookiee is going to be in the Obi-Wan series, because in the comics, Obi-Wan gives him that scar that he's got. That's from Obi-Wan.
Oh, okay.
Slashed him with a thing. So anyway, geeking out shit like that.
Everything else. I'm trying to think. There was something you said earlier that I was like going to ask you about the book of Boba Fett. I can't remember what it was. It's like, oh yeah, you were saying how we thought he's gonna be more of a badass, right? Like he used to just viscerate people, like he was a villain. And there's been a lot of save the cat moments for sure of like they're really trying to show us that he's like this good guy, and it's confusing.
The trailer, you didn't watch the trailer, I assume, right? When it came out.
No, I didn't see the trailer.
So the trailer made it seem like it was going to be the Sopranos of the Star Wars universe, and they set it up to where he's sitting around with the families, and it's like this gangster show, and it looks like he's trying to take over and be like a crime lord. The way that they're proposing it now, and the way that they have built him out, is he's more like the sheriff of Tatooine. He's like the brand new sheriff who takes over, and he's that's more how it is. He's not committing any crimes. He just wants to own the castle and live in peace. But he's not. What's he doing? He says, "I'm a crime lord." Yeah, what crimes are you committing? Not committing any crime.
Yeah, I don't understand.
Yeah, and so it's more like he's just kind of trying to clean it up and
squatting. I guess he's the crime of squatting.
That's it, or that's all he's doing. It's true, and then he's got Fennec, who's really doing. I still think it'd be ballsy if Fennec shoots him in the head at the end of the last episode, and Fennec takes over.
I do. My buddy thinks they're gonna kill Boba Fett, and I'm like, man, don't plant no seeds, because my nerd friends, I don't. So my buddy Tony Revis, he used to be so good. I'm sure he still is, but he used to always go. He stopped doing it, to me at least. He'd go, you know what I think is going to happen? And it always happens. So I'm like, you might as well just, give me spoilers, because he goes, well, I don't know what's going to happen. And then it happens.
Well, I hope it happens. I hope she shoots him in the head, and I want to see her take over. I think that would be the one that I want to see. Is Tony one of the guys that came to SmackDown with us?
Yeah.
Because those cats are cool. I
He
like
used to
those
be
guys.
the producer of my podcast.
Oh,
I
okay.
think he lives back in Seattle now. I'm not sure where he's at, but the pandemic screwed everything up.
Everything, man. All right, be honest. You've been at the gas station, you're sitting around, you're going, hey, look at those. This is those erection pills. I'm going to try those things. I'm going to see what happens. I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm just going to use them. And then I'm going to say, surprise, look at what just happened in the bedroom. So you start thinking. It's tempting. I know. But if you look at what's going on in those products, it's not good for you. The same goes for the products on the market that say it's going to help you in bed. But here's the issue. Who wants the 4-hour erection? I'm like Conan with the sword in my pants. And then I had to go to the hospital and explain it. Hey, it was something I wanted to try because when I go, I wanted to look perfect down there. But JOYMODE is going to help out, and it's here to save the day. Whether you're happy or unhappy with your performance in the bedroom, why not perform even better? JOYMODE Sexual Performance Booster, it's like a pre-workout, but for sex. I'm pumping sometimes to pump the iron, and now I want to pump the new iron down there. And in order to do it, I use JOYMODE. It's fantastic. Because you'd rather take a supplement designed to spice things up rather than a prescription drug that's going to have harmful effects down the road. JOYMODE makes natural and science-backed sexual wellness products for men. Their sexual performance booster is like a pre-workout, but for sex. And the sexual performance booster is designed to support erection quality and firmness and sex drive. Thank you, Mr. Gary Busey. After taking the sexual performance booster, blood levels of arginine and yohimbine will directly promote nitric oxide. I'm going to tell you right now before I read the rest of this stuff. It's going to let you know that you're going to be excited. I'm not reading all the medical stuff. I want to let you guys know. You want to take a look at what's in here? You should check it out because JOYMODE, what they did, it was created because the products in the market, they're just terrible. And they know they could do better. So they put all that stuff that I can't pronounce. It doesn't matter, though. The objection for the erection is because you want to get more excited. And prescriptions come with all sorts of side effects and over-the-counter gas station pills. They're sketchy and they're fraudulent. But a lot of guys just take both because they don't have an option. This is what you expect when you go with JOYMODE. Tear open the sachet, you mix it with 6 to 8 ounces of water, just like an electrolyte packet. And for best use, consume it anywhere from 45 minutes to 4 hours prior to sexual activity. You're going to notice better blood flow, better erection quality and firmness, and increased sexual energy and drive. If you want to spice things up in the bedroom and boost your sexual performance and do it naturally without the nasty prescription drugs, special offer for you. This is for the Big Thing audience. You go to use joymode.com/big thing. I mean, how appropriate is this? Come on, JOYMODE with a big thing, or enter big thing at checkout for 20% off your first order. Use joymode.com. Use joymode.com/big thing for 20% off your first order. Thank you, JOYMODE, for partnering up with the Big Thing. I mean, there's no other show it should have partnered up than the Big Thing. Links in the description. So, going back to comedy, not to change the topic to a sad note here, but did you ever get an opportunity to work with Bob Saget?
I did not, but we have like 100 mutual friends.
Yeah.
And one time he was at my house. My buddy Brant had him as a guest on his podcast, and he didn't want to bring Bob, since Bob Saget's, famous guy. Like he didn't want to bring Bob Saget over to like his apartment, so he just let himself into my house, and they recorded. Bob Saget had no idea that it was even not Brant's place. So
that's funny.
That's the closest I've been to meeting Bob Saget, but it was a rough week for me because just so many of my friends were sad. I could like feel it. So it felt like when Norm died, you could feel like a dark cloud over my cell phone and friend group,
Yeah, it hit pretty hard because of how much he was kind of a mentor and to a lot of people. The story for me is that one of my friends from college moved out here, and he and his girlfriend were together for a long time, and they wound up breaking up, and she started dating Bob Saget for a while. Wow. Yeah, they were for a while. And I had met him when I was Heidi and Frank, because I used to do that show often, and he was a guest, and I had met him in the green room a couple times. Sweet guy. I mean, not enough to where I can say like I had long conversations with Bob Saget, but obviously with Ellis and all these people, Mike Young, and people that have just told all these stories, and from being at the Comedy Store all these years, you just never heard a bad word about the guy. And he was he was a comics comic. So it was a very sad day. And obviously, as you mentioned with Norm, and it's just, and Betty White, another
Yeah.
comedic.
Because Betty White was 99. I mean,
99.
Bob Saget is so
Right.
young, and
Right.
like also Norm's really young, and then
Yeah.
like to
But Norm
find
was sick. But Norm was sick. Like, but Bob just out of nowhere. He was on the road going to do stand up. So
yeah. Does anyone know what happened? Like,
still hasn't come out yet. No, from not again from the time of this recording. No, my wife just asked me the other day. They know they did it like an autopsy but there was no news of anything yet.
Well,
And
yeah, it said no foul play and
no
no
drug use.
drugs.
No.
And so it's like, what do you just fall asleep? Like because he got found in his sleeping, and
So
it's
I
like
have a friend,
there's
dude.
no
I have a friend.
drugs and you're
Yeah,
sleeping and you're young. Like I don't understand how this happens.
I had a friend who her dad was just bike riding, and he was super healthy. Was in Europe. He was just bike riding, no problems, no drug use, nothing. Just brain aneurysm, and that was it.
Crazy. I mean, I wonder. Here's a question. Maybe this is too. Um,
We're talking. Bring it.
but
bring it up.
why does it matter? Why do I wonder why he died? Why do people
Right.
like like if I found out it was drugs or something, I wouldn't change how much. You
How
know what I'm
much
saying?
drugs
Like,
you do?
I'm
No,
wondering
no. Well, that's
why.
right now. Also, it's also a matter of age as you get like certain things that go on and where you are in your life. It's today you might not, but maybe tomorrow you will. Or maybe in 10 years you will. Who knows? But it's a matter. And I think the answer to your question as far as like why is because it's always that the fascination of death and fascination of what comes next and the fascination of how the fuck did that happen, or somebody, if like you said, sad that Betty White died, but she was a month away from her 100th birthday.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, so when every time she trended on Twitter for the last 10 years, you're like, did she die?
Right.
Like,
But also, I just think about that all the time. Like, what if I could live forever? It's kind of like the Jungle Cruise with The Rock or whatever. It's like Betty White's seen. She's seen all of her friends die.
Right.
She had to make new, younger friends all the time because everyone's gone.
all
So
the
it's like at a
time.
certain point, you just want to go, I'm ready. It's okay. I've had a great life. I'm a legend.
And that was it. I mean, I think she'd probably been prepping for a long time.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's the same shit. So, but it's like, yeah, but someone like Bob was, what was he, 65?
Mm-hmm.
Something like shit like that. It's like, so and it comes out of nowhere. That's the craziness. So yeah, man. It was, you're right though. I felt the same cloud with probably a lot of the same friends that we share, that it was just like, that shit, that was terrible. 2022 already.
Yeah.
Sniff it. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. As far as, so you've been watching, you still watching wrestling? You watching AEW?
A lot of WWE. Yeah.
Okay.
WWE seems to be going through some sort of strange phase that I don't know how to explain.
Yeah.
And so it's I pop it on here and there. I keep up like on Instagram, like whatever WWE posts on Instagram and all the kind of wrestling accounts I follow. But I haven't sat down and watched a whole episode of any WWE since they started jumping the channels and the times and everything.
Yeah, it seems like they're in this place now because back when they had monopolized again, like they did for a while, and then WCW came in and they had to fight and they had to get their clout back, and then they got it back, and then they didn't really have much competition, whether TNA and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Didn't really have anybody, and then now AEW, which came out, and they didn't take them as serious when they first came out because there's so many different people that had come in the past, but now with Tony Khan's money and putting on a good product and getting the right, and not just spending money to doing what WCW did, not doing what they did wrong, and not just putting the big money on the contracts, but utilizing your talent the right way and going a little bit more old school, focusing on not. I think that they're doing it right now. They're the way that I said that they're kind of like punk rock right now, and is where the WWE is. It's almost like it feels like disco right now.
Yeah, the WWE feels terrible right now. They have like 10 stars, it feels like.
Yeah.
And they used to have hundreds of stars. Also, WWE is, or not WWE, AEW is like this indie show wet dream where you just get to see all these great things. And it feels almost like the fans own it, is what it feels like.
Yeah.
It isn't. And so it's like also they're all getting paid, so they're all happy. They're all being able to make all their t-shirt money. It's like they took every mistake they've learned from WWE and completely got rid of it. So it's just all pro wrestler. Like the wrestlers are happy to be there. It doesn't,
no
they're happy.
writers, no.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're all friends.
yeah.
And I think at WWE, the problem is Vince still runs everything. Like Vince has worked with almost every single wrestler that's over at AEW. He could have said, "Hey, what would you like to do with your character? Or what do you think would be a good storyline?"
Right.
Instead, he just said, "No, you look weird. You're not going to get the rub." So like making Vince in charge of everything just kind of made it, not fun. So they went on and did their own thing, and it blew up.
Well, isn't it funny though too, because he was the guy, like when he took wrestling to the next level in the like mid 80s, he was the guy that went against the old school way. He
Right.
was like where the old school way was you don't fuck with the territories, you stay with the territories.
Yeah,
And
you got to rent their stars if you want them. Yeah.
And Vince said, "Screw that! I'm getting everybody. I'm creating my own. I am the territory." And he went against what old school was. Now he can't. He's created his way is the old school way.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, so when I was there, when I was writing, like I said, I was there for so little, but when I was there, it was in the transition period where there were a few stars that still could just go out there and riff. You give them an outline and you say, okay, these are the main things you kind of want to hit. And then they would riff. Obviously, Stone Cold and The Rock can just go and do their thing. They hit the things they want to do, but they riff. Now I can't remember what it was. I was talking to Freddie Prinze Jr. I had Freddie on the other last week, and he was talking about when he was there and how he wrote this whole thing for like Bradshaw, and he told a great story where he wrote this monologue for Bradshaw. Vince wrote it for Bradshaw, and he didn't like it, at all. And then and so sorry, let me rewind that. Freddie wrote something really long, and he loved it. He wanted to do it, and then Vince read it and didn't like it. And he's like, "No, have him say this." And what he wrote was terrible. And Bradshaw was like, "This, I can't read this." And he did Freddie's, and Vince was hot about it, like real hot about it. And Freddie kind of
crazy.
Yeah, it's like it's because it went over well, but he's still like, and I think that still carries over too, where he doesn't budge, he doesn't move on anything, and that's when you get these. Like you said, when the wrestlers are able to do their thing and they become a little bit more old school, and that's what the fans nostalgia is working right now. You look at movies, the movies right now with we're just talking about Spider-Man, Boba Fett. The nostalgia is working, and that doesn't go away from wrestling too.
Ghostbusters, everything, yes,
everything.
Sting's like the hottest wrestler in AEW, or like one of them.
Crazy.
And I'd say number 2, like I'm not gonna rank them, but like CM Punk is huge, like huge.
Yeah, it's funny about Punk. I had him on this show 4 days before he debuted in AEW, wow. And I didn't ask him about it because there's no shot he was going to tell me. Yeah. I kind of just threw it in there, like whether or not you show up or not, because he was playing as he should have been. He was playing coy about it, but like he is a perfect example of what you were just talking about. That dude, because I had him on Collider Live years ago, and he was just, I'm not coming back to wrestling. There's nothing about wrestling that I want to do. And AEW had just started at that point, but they did something right to where they made him feel he wasn't going to be tried. He was miserable at WWE. I mean, miserable.
Yeah.
So, towards the end, he was miserable. So the fact that like they got the love back because you can tell the stuff that he's doing now, he's having fun.
Oh yeah, and also it's like I think it's as simple as what I said earlier about like just let them do what they think would work, and then that way, if it fails, you can be like, hey man, we let you do what you wanted to do. Like you can kind of put the blame on them a little bit. Like it didn't go over. We've got to like regroup to come up with a different idea. But at least that way they felt like, well, I got to try it my way. I got to like try the thing I want to do instead of Vince being like, no, I know how this works, and I've always known how this works, and that's not how you do it. That's not a very fun place for anyone.
No, not when your stars have earned it, right? I do think there's something about when there's new people coming in, they're pitching their thing and what they want to do, because a new person's always going to be like, well, I should be able to do this and this and this and this, and you got to be cautious about it. But someone like a Moxley and a Jericho, and when they're having their ideas, we'll listen to them, let them run the thing, and let them work their program and how they want it to play, and especially when you have like these old pros. But when you say Sting, because I'll be honest, I haven't been watching AEW as much as I haven't been watching wrestling as much as I used to, but Sting, because I hear this about Sting. Is he still wrestling?
Yeah,
He's
still
actually
wrestling.
he's wrestling again.
Takes bumps. He does the whole
Wow.
thing. Yeah, I mean, he's got a tag team partner.
Yeah.
Who's just like high flyer.
Yeah, no, him I know. That's the guy, and that's the one that Punk fought in his debut.
Yeah, he's
yeah.
awesome. He flies around. He's freaking sweet. And so that guy, it's a nice compliment because they kind of like he does a lot of the heavy lifting. The expression. He's not like a big guy. He doesn't actually do heavy lifting, but I'm saying like he does all these high fly moves and stuff like. So they're a really good pair. It's nice. It's fun to watch.
Who's the champion right now?
No idea.
No idea. Fair enough.
I don't even know.
Yeah, it's like you just kind of tune in to watch it. Either way, brother, this is I've had a blast talking to you. Any games what games you playing right now? Any games before we get out of here?
I've been playing a ton of just like vintage stuff. I'm going through a real nostalgic phase, but then I play Mortal Kombat almost every day.
Okay. Yeah, see, I'm waiting for some. Did you ever play because the TV show's coming out soon, the Last of Us?
Mm-mm.
So everybody loves that game. I think that it's on my shelf. It's been sitting on the shelf for like 2 or 3 years, and people keep telling me I got to play it. And I want to watch because Pedro Pascal. Yeah, it's unopened, just sitting on my shelf for years. Pedro Pascal, who's the Mandalorian, is the lead in that show. So it's one of the reasons also why I want to check it out. But yeah, that'll be the one.
You know what I do think is strange too is like this might be a tell that Mandalorian is so much better than Book of Boba Fett because. Yeah. I didn't expect to see Boba Fett's face so much. I mean, like it is a lot of no helmet.
Neither did he.
I thought that was kind of a cool part about the Mandalorian is that like that the no expression is so much better sometimes.
So that's what a lot of people have been saying also about Mandalorian is that the Mandalorian is more of the Boba Fett that we were used to in the original trilogy than this Boba Fett is, right? Yeah. And if you listen to the kind of things that I've heard with Filoni, the story is, and I don't know how confirmed it is or not, but the story is that Favreau really like pitched in, like he was up for movies and stuff too, but he pitched to Filoni and talked to Filoni about what he wanted to do, his idea, what he wanted to do. And I think he had written like a Boba Fett script. And Filoni was like, well, we can't do Boba Fett because he's not a Mandalorian. And blah, 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 blah. And then they started to come up with the Mandalorian as it was, the two of them, and they came up with the Mandalorian and the rest is history. But Favreau always wanted to do a Boba Fett series or Boba Fett movie or something. So it was his favorite character. So then you get what we have, but they can't do the same thing. Yeah. So like, well, what if, and because Tamora Morrison even said it, he was like, I think I speak too much. I think I say too much stuff. I think I show my face too much. I think that it takes away from the mystery. He said it in an interview. That's what I love. He gives no fucks.
I love that. Yeah, he's not above going, here's what I didn't like. And you're like, wow, you're the guy.
Guy's like, again, he's like 65 years old or whatever he is. He's like, what's he? I don't know. I don't know if he's that old, but let me see actually how I'm going to do the old Siri trick. Hey, Siri, how old is Tamora Morrison? She ignored me. Perfect. The fuck do I know about anything? I don't. Anyway, so let's just see how old he is. He is 61. So not too far off.
Yeah, you were close.
I was close. All right, so you're gonna be, so people can find where you're gonna be. They just go to jeffdye.com and has all your tour dates. You're on the road for a while. Are you going out there with anybody else, or just or whoever the local is?
I headline every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and sometimes Sundays in a different city every weekend. And then sometimes Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm in Los Angeles, and you can find me at the Laugh Factory or the Improv on weekdays. And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I'm in the town, hopefully near wherever you are.
You got to check him out, guys. Very funny guy. Good buddy. Jeff Dye, ladies and gentlemen. It's always a pleasure. I mean, we got to do it again. Next time we'll get you. Yeah, we'll get you in person next time. We'll do maybe me, you, and Mark will just bullshit.
Oh, that'd be great. I would love that.
All right, everybody. The great Jeff Dye. We will see you guys next time. Once again, please, everybody, if you haven't joined the Patreon again, do that. We got a whole bunch of tiers. Going to add a new watch along, the rewatch a month. We're doing the Batman ones on this channel, but a new one that you can vote on, you can do that. And then don't forget about Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Everywhere podcasts are found, do that. And then lastly, subscribe to this channel. Hit the notification button. Do it all. All right, this big thing. We'll see you next time.